Hey there, welcome back. Okay, in this video, we're going to continue our discussion with Rick Foreman. Only this time, Rick's going to tell you a little bit more about some specific Kaizen events and Kaizen improvements that Federal Heat has made. So, enjoy.
Kaizen to Federal Heat simply means daily, continuous, small improvements. We're looking for 400 plus employees to be involved in continuous improvement every day. And with that becomes a Kaizen culture of events that could be 5 minutes to however long it takes and to accomplish the task that we have. We approach Kaizen through really identifying problems or opportunities for an improvement. So we'll use key performance indicators, or as we do our waste and gimbal walks and we notice that some waste, we'll Pareto analysis out what is the most weighted waste in an area or a cross function that's impacting our ability to be efficient in our processes. And after that problem, looking at those problems and identifying those opportunities, then we'll implement some type of Kaizen action to address that waste that we've identified to improve the processes or the flow of information or product through our company. One of the most important ones that happened early on happened in our shop here in Euless, and it involved taking letters back and forth across the shop, where guys used to literally make 20, 30 trips a day back and forth from one department to another, picking up product and carrying it back one at a time. And so a cross-functional team was developed with our lean champion, and part of the other leaders got together, and it was a constraint. It was eating a lot of time because we weren't doing value-added work, and they recognized that right away. So we got together a cross-functional team with paint and assembly and the letter cell and the lean champion and a couple other team members that were impacted by that. And they really just went to a room and sat down and said, this is an opportunity of waste we have, and how can we improve on this? And what's really neat about it is they walked this process through. They measured the steps and how many hours and time, and what could they improve by using the resources we already have within the facility. They ended up saving over a couple of hundred hours a year and thousands of steps in just 1 year by their improvement. But what they found was in one area, not where the waste was most prominent, where you would see it, but in one of the areas they had some racks that were up above the hoist rail that were totally non-value used. You couldn't get a forklift to them, and they were basically just sitting there useless. And the team came up with, well, what if we cut off those racks and add wheels to them, and we can use that as a Kanban cart for these letters that go to 2 different departments. And that would give us a solution to where maybe we couldn't be perfect in our flow, but we could reduce thousands of steps per year. And so what they did, they had 4 racks, and they needed 4 racks, and they put a system in place and put some dates and guidelines and stuff like that of when they wanted to accomplish this stuff. They cut the racks, they ordered some wheels, they welded the wheels on, and they put some signs on the end of the racks, and they made 4 of them, because 1 would go to paint, 1 would go to assembly, and when they came back to that department, they would come back. So 2 would leave and 2 would come back. And so instead of taking 20 to 30 trips, maybe per man per day, you would take 1 or 2 trips per day, and you would roll the rack back and forth. So the cost was minimal. The involvement involved the guys in the Gemba doing the work, and it happened in a cross-functional, so they had buy-in from everybody that these parts would touch in the value stream. And so they measured it, they walked the steps out, they did the work themselves. The only cost was the time and ordering the wheels, but they did this entire project themselves and rolled it out, and there was immediate buy-in because people were from each area, the team members, and so it was a huge success right off the bat, and it's been a success ever since. It'd be hard to measure all the steps we've saved in time, but it was tremendous. It was very visually obvious of the success. With that lessons learned, one of the team members on that Kaizen team was chosen and volunteered to lead another team for a lessons learned with a similar product right next to his department. in which they were basically piling the product on the floor and making steps and looking for which job went where. The same assembly department would walk back and forth all day long gathering these parts, but because of the lessons learned in this one cell, it immediately applied to the other. So the team member took the leadership on it, rolled it out to his partner department and cell next to him, got 2 or 3 more team members added. So we used his experience and lessons learned and rolled out another Kaizen team. It was another problem or waste they identified by a lot of steps that were being wasted. So from the 8 waste and gimbal walks, they identified this was a huge opportunity. So they did a team, developed a cart, but with a different type of cart, very low cost and key for what we had in company. They actually had 2 setting on the floor that they just added wheels to those, and also set it up in a Kanban situation where one would be stationary for one department that needed and the other 2 would Kanban back and forth. With a very visual board on the end showing what product was on there per job and when it was due. So the hunting and digging and looking for what was needed was totally eliminated because it was on there and marked. These were 2 very simple but profound Kaizen projects that Federal Heath and the team on the floor executed with great results. From those lessons learned, we've rolled Kaizen into the front office and to change the culture there. A couple of projects we're working on there is process and value stream mapping out the connections in certain processes that we have. Our value stream starts with a customer and with suppliers and with a city and people way beyond the control of our 4 walls. So we begin to map that stuff out, bring teams together and look at that to take the waste out of the process, even in the office. And we've done that. We've done it within our engineering group. We've done that within our sales group and financing, some of our billing and taxing errors or something just in the process that might happen. We've done that there. One of the biggest things that we're seeing right now is we're beginning to Pareto analysis out waste, where we have waste codes that now we're using, asking team members to capture their waste in their processes within departments, within our office group. And so now we've captured that data for the last few months and begin to Pareto out and see what the most significant waste is in our office processes. And then we'll roll that out into the next Kaizen step of cross-functional teams to help eliminate that waste. And do we need IT, or do we just need to change our communication, feedback loop? What can we do in those things to improve it? Simple checklist to make sure improvements are made. Order entry used to be a huge issue for us. We used to have order entry errors ran about 15 to 17% of all orders entered. We made some simple checklists from production control and rolled back through our account management and the team members that put those orders in. That has fallen from 15 to 17% down to about 2% because of checklists, which once again was a cross-functional Kaizen. Another one we had was we used to have these housings on our signs that we would tear a piece of tape and we'd mask the housing. And at one time, based on the product we had, we were doing that thousands of times, literally per month. We would put the masking tape on, we paint the sign, and we're peeling it off, but we're having to use a knife and not peel the paint off and then get rid of it. Well, instead of doing all this masking on and off and all of that, I wonder if there's a plug or something we could do to save time. And after discussing that, really brainstorming what might be a solution on that with the team members in that area, simply came up with a plug and went from masking what is an inch and a half glass plug with masking tape all the time to simply taking a plug and just putting over it, which takes about 2 seconds and is also reusable. We calculated first year savings might be around $25,000 to $30,000 just in 1 year, from just a simple cap from a masking process to just a plugging process that saved the flow and pain. It improved tremendously just by doing that. It was a simple Kaizen deal of getting people together, and here's an opportunity and we think we can do this better. We're doing it good now, but how can we improve on it? So team members brainstorming and came up with it. Supplier had the cap, and we tried it, and we're using it today, and it's worked wonderful. The toughest part of the Kaizen journey for Federal Heath is the reality of business in manufacturing life. Our industry is a very up and down. It ebbs and flows by the economy. We could be buried for the next 6 months, and the next 6 months it may slow down, but as in most businesses, it comes in very fast, and if the customer wants it at a very good price and wants it yesterday, and so there's a lot of variation to our product. And so adapting Kaizen thought processes to all that variation has really been the challenge for us. The other challenges, we're in multiple locations. Another challenge has been rolling that Kaizen culture into the office, because it's just much harder to watch information flow than it is to watch a piece of metal or plastic flow. So getting that tangible look from the office team members to really grasp that is tougher to do than it is out on the shop floor. So getting the what's in it for me and the team and the organization as a whole, and driving that Kaizen thought process through the front administrative processes is very challenging. And especially some of those team members within the same function are at different locations. So part of the challenge is just our geographical location, along with the fact that our processes go outside of the company and back into the company through suppliers and vendors and different things of where city codes. The value stream is so much more beyond just what Federal Heath does to ship a sign. So the challenge is getting buy-in from people that really don't have tangible accountability all the time to what we're doing. Kaizen is a journey and learning by the lessons you learned, and not everything you try works out the way you think it's going to work out. And the ability to accept that it doesn't always accomplish exactly what you're looking for doesn't mean you failed. It means that you learned a lesson, and you can adapt from that and apply that somewhere else and grow from that to go to the next thing. We say in this company that baby steps are okay, as long as we're progressing and moving forward. And that's Kaizen. Small daily continuous improvement of that focus of making it a part of our DNA. Our success at Federal Heath is based upon the fact that after 3.5 years of very specific focus on Kaizen, it is now a part of our culture, where the majority of our team members are really thinking about, how can we do this better? How can we add value to the customer? And part of that has come through some what people would view as failures, or it didn't accomplish exactly what we thought it would. But we've learned to adapt, move on. What works well, we improve on. What doesn't work well, we notice that that's an opportunity on something that we've learned, and we can apply that throughout our industry and our business and what we're doing. So failure doesn't always mean you fail. Failure means it's an opportunity to learn and take that Kaizen culture to the next level and get more people engaged with it. But as long as you're moving forward with Kaizen and that continuous improvement, you're always going to be gaining for your organization.